Hello everyone, I'm Krasi and I invited Zori again from healandlearn.com because she's a relationship coach, also a business coach, and she has holistic approach, and we think that we can be very useful for you about topic which seems to be interesting for everyone, and this is depression. I like to call it melancholy because this was the ancient term which seems to be which seems to look better. Also, you know, the words have vibrations, so it's very important which term we choose for every specific thing that we will be describing. So we will talk about depression, melancholy, how I have previous video about this, and there I explained how to see this astrologically. I will talk briefly astrologically about depression, and then Zori, with her holistic knowledge and her relationship and business knowledge, will give us advices on remedies, on how to help ourselves when we have in our chart options for signs of melancholy or depression. Zori, hello. Thank you for joining my channel.
Hi, Krasi. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm very much looking forward to this talk because I know that it's impacting a lot of people. I'll tell you more about numbers later, but please go ahead for astrological.
Yes. I noticed that when some time ago I placed a video on melancholy, and if you like, you can look at this video because it describes some of the important aspects that we need to have in the chart in order really to complain from melancholy or dark moods or depression. I don't like this term, but whatever. So you might like to look at this video, but yes, and then Zori will help us with remedies. And I noticed that when I placed this video, so many people wrote me with different questions. So it seems to be very important and concerning so many people. So yes, thank you, Zori. So I will just tell you very briefly how melancholy is seen in the chart, but you cannot still see my other video. However, just very briefly, also to give some idea to Zori, who is not astrologer, but we make very good link together with this holistic medical stuff and astrology. So Saturn is the Lord of Tears. And when Saturn typically is afflicting luminary, like moon and sun, people, depends of course how Saturn is placed in the chart, people tend to be prone to dark moods, melancholic state. I also explained previously that the nebulas, you know, which are clouds in the sky, clusters of stars, which create something like clouds. The approach of the ancients towards the nebulas was very different than the approach now. So the nebulas were looked upon like dark, cloudy place in the sky, which would, if a luminary is there, or if we would have nebula on the ascendant, or on mid-heaven, or conjunct moon and sun, or on important position in the chart, then people would really suffer dark moods. And then these nebulas are also considered very esoteric, very intuitive place. So one of the things is that if the people are very, very esoteric, very, very much into secret sciences, meditation, spiritual practices, then they would suffer less dark moods and melancholy. So one of the things is nebulas, which can afflict us seriously in terms of moods. And then the other thing is, of course, Saturn, and how Saturn is placed, the Lord of Tears, the Lord of Karma, how Saturn is placed in the chart. And then there is also another thing, and these are the water signs. I would say really the sidereal water constellations and signs depends, again, how they are positioned in the chart. They can, to a degree, but not solely, not only, be reason behind if too much water, if afflicted luminary, people tend to be more melancholic. And Zori, I will give the word to you, and then of course we can make this as a discussion too. Yes. So basically, when you know that this is the Saturn, Lord of Karma and Tears, grief. When we know that these are the nebulas who can cause this, when we know that these are the water signs very, very often, but not as a sole reason, please tell us what could be the helpful mean for solving issues like dark moods, melancholy, even chronic. I would ask you also about chronic depression.
Yeah. So to begin with, I just want to give you an overview of the size of the population that actually has a problem with depression, because this is really significant. And for you not to feel alone out there in this suffering, you should know that 450 million people around the world suffer from depression, according to the World Health Organization. This is data from 2015. So this is really massive. And of course, if you see this on an astrology chart, you would probably see that a percentage of the population has these signs for a depression in their chart. Now, I just want to make a sort of a disclaimer that I'm not going to talk about depression caused by trauma, like death or a very traumatic divorce or whatever has caused a lot of trauma. This we exclude because it usually needs time. You cannot apply these remedies immediately. The person needs time to go through a healing process. So we are talking now mostly about chronic depression, because this is what you see in the natal chart, right? The other sort of depressions you would probably see from a transit or a progression, something that...
Yes, but still in both cases, the person needs to be open to this, need to be prone to this.
Yes, right, I understand. All right, so let's take into account all kinds of depression, excluding the traumatic causes of depression. So as everything else, all conditions can be treated on the level of the mind, the level of the soul, and the level of the body. And since the body is the most dense, we can impact it immediately with some solutions for the body. And then gradually, as we raise the vibration, we start working on the mind, and then with the next steps, we start working on the spirit. Of course, we can do it simultaneously. We can start from any part as we wish, but the easiest way is to start from the body. So what are the important factors that you should consider that can get you out of depression immediately? So number one factor is the sun. The sunlight. People these days stay in offices all day long. They don't see the sunlight. I mean, even if the weather is not sunny, you should go out for at least 1 hour a day and get the sun. It also increases the level of vitamin D12 and the production of many other hormones that are responsible for depression. So it decreases those factors responsible for depression. So the sun is number one. If you can, go on a vacation somewhere. Also walks in nature. This is also very important. Breathing. Next is food. Food is one of the primary things that you can use to influence your condition. So we talked yesterday with you, Krasi, and we talked about being a vegetarian and how important it is to eat a lot of fruit and vegetables, and especially to maintain a healthy level of liquids in your body. So intake a lot of water, everything that actually Saturn depletes. Right?
Sorry, just to say two astrological words, because you're so right. Just to say what is behind this, what is the reason behind really the need of eating a lot of fruits, vegetables, alive food, and also water. It is because Saturn, who is the reason behind the depression, is, according to the ancient texts, is causing the decrease of liquid in the body and increasing of the so-called black bile. And the black bile is black and it's dense, and it is something that you need to somehow dissolve in your body. And this can happen exactly this way, as you say. So this is, again, very much astrology, and it is indeed what you're saying. To decrease the amount of black bile, which is otherwise created by Saturn.
And another thing about food intake, apart from the fact that you should eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, is the consumption of protein in combination with carbohydrates. So when I'm saying protein, I don't mean meat. There's protein in a lot of other foods. You can use yogurt. There's a lot of protein in oatmeal. So, for example, if you have for breakfast oatmeal with yogurt and some nuts, this is plenty of nutrients to stimulate the serotonin, which is the chemical component that the brain releases, and this helps you being happy. So it takes you out of depression. So consumption of healthy food is really your top priority if you find yourself in such a state. The next thing is movement. So everybody knows we should move. And very often when people are in depression, they find themselves in a stale state. And this is the static state maybe that Saturn also causes. And the exercise, the exercise type that is very beneficial for to fight depression is yoga. Because Saturn usually makes you stiff. It makes your body stiff, it makes your mind stiff. So to make it more flexible, the flexibility of the body causes the mind also to become flexible. So you should start practicing some yoga or slow dancing movements that work on your flexibility, and also breathing. So the sun, breathing, food, yoga we have so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There are other things though. Herbal remedies are also very important, and there are multiple herbal medicines, but what you should focus on are herbs that are either yellow in color, green in color, or pink in color.
I know why.
Yeah, tell me why.
Yellow. Usually, herbalism. I also make just small reference to my video on use of herbs in astrology. You may take a look at this. But why? Because the solar herbs are typically yellow. The dandelion herb, for example, typically is the most powerful solar herb. So you can infuse it as a tea. You can make it like we make it in Bulgaria. We make this honey. Mm-hmm. We cook the dandelion with sugar and water until it reaches the state of honey, mm-hmm. and so on. Yellow, because the sun is the one who brings joy and is fighting depression. So yeah, super. It's very good link that we're making here. I like it.
Also for depression, hibiscus. Hibiscus is the herb for depression for people. Solar, exactly, yellow. Then green, of course, to open the heart chakra. So the solar is the solar plexus, what we're talking about until now. This is the yellow. This is your vital energy. Then we have the heart, which is love. You need to express your love out there and not inward. And then the pink is a chakra. I don't even know what it's called, but it's between the green chakra and the blue chakra of communication.
Venus. Exactly, yes.
Venus is somewhere here. Yeah, it's responsible for receiving love. So you should be able to get your energy out there with the yellow, then give love and be able to receive love. These are the three chakras that you should focus on, also with herbs. Then very important is to reduce and completely actually eliminate the consumption of alcohol, because there is a very strong connection between depression and alcohol consumption. And I suppose this especially applies for people that have nebulas in their charts, because the nebula also can cause fizziness in...
Nebulas can be so complex. There are many, and all of them give different difficult impact. Yes, yes. You're right. What you're saying. Yes, some of the nebulas can be reason behind this. Yes.
Yeah. In any case, alcohol decreases your vibration. So if you want to get yourself to a happy state, you need to just eliminate all the foods that bring you down, and liquids, of course. Anything else on the body? A very important point. Most people who are depressed or melancholic are isolated. They're alone. Therefore, it's very important that you start to get out, find people with the same interests. There's meetup.com, there are Facebook groups for meetup. Just find people to meet with from time to time. You don't need to be so isolated. The biggest percentage of people suffering from depression are isolated. Also, moms after postnatal, with the postnatal depression, most moms who experience this actually live in the suburbs and are isolated. This is a proven fact. So yes, isolation is really a big contributor, and you need your social circle. Like you remember, no, you don't. Back in the days, or even now in some countries, people live with their parents, but now it's like stigma, especially in Western Europe. If you live with your family of origin, or if a few families live in the same house, it's a stigma. You're not independent. It's a problem. But as a matter of fact, back in the days, there were no depressions in these larger communities living in one house because they were not isolated.
You know what my aunt used to say? She would say, depressed, get to work. Depressed, just get to work, do something, whatever, just do something. You're very right.
Point. This is the mental work.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's physical, you can do physical work, but work has a lot to do with your goal, with your purpose. And this is where you need to start working on your mind, on your mind perception, on your values, and on your purpose in life, what you need to contribute out there. Because people who have a goal don't have enough time to think about themselves and about their own trouble. They jump over their ego. If you think about it, people in depression think too much about themselves, about their own problems. It's a focus on the ego. Once you jump over that and you want to shine your light out to the world, give your own gifts. This is when you have a purpose. That's when you're out of depression, because your goal is no longer to work on a certain problem that you have, but to help people solve their problems. So yes, this is a part of mind work, to actually find your purpose. And even if you cannot find your purpose immediately, maybe find the next goal. This is also important, step by step.
Absolutely.
Another thing is, when it comes to mental work, sometimes people feel stressed and overwhelmed because they have a task that they feel that they cannot accomplish. Then you need to break it down in smaller pieces, this task. Be able to plan it well, rather than feel overwhelmed and stressed. Another thing that has helped me a lot, actually, whenever I felt very stressed and very pressured by something, is a question that is very illogical. And the question is, I don't even remember how I learned this technique, but the question is, what is the worst thing that can happen to me if something doesn't happen? So what is the worst thing that can happen? Let's ask a random question. You cannot finish your work assignment. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, they can fire me. Well, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, I will not have money for a while. What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, I'll have to ask my family and friends for money. What's the worst thing that can happen? Eventually, they'll say I'm a loser and stop giving me money. What's the worst thing?
So what?
So what?
Not so bad, right?
In the end, you end up with, so I'll die. Well, so what? Everybody dies. And so eventually, when you reach the final point, which is always, so I'll die, so what?
Yes.
Right. So then you stop having fear that causes this stress and depression. So
yes,
the goal is to eliminate fear, and ultimately fear of death. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me take a look if I have any other notes.
If this is, we're speaking about the physical approach, right? But then there is something very interesting, and we spoke about this yesterday.
How to think.
Of course, but there is something that we spoke about yesterday with you, and this is especially the meat. And this comes from, this is something it's something truly amazing. And I'm not now an advocate of the vegan food, not at all, but just to tell you something. And this is coming from the teaching of the Bulgarian master, being Sadunu, and which works amazingly. Peter Dunu for being Sadunu, and it's Zori, just to say it for the people that are watching us. So it is, I think that
people, if it's difficult to spell the name, they should look for the White Brotherhood in Bulgaria, and then they would be able to find there. It's a very widely followed international. It's a sort of a religion, I can say.
Well, no, it's not religious. It is most of like spiritual philosophy, but it is so. It's so true, and it is that. When we consume meat, flesh, let's think how the animal was killed actually, and how his fears at the end of his moments of death were unlocked. What kinds of emotions the animal felt. Yes, you would say that the animals right now are executed with technical means or whatever. It's not exactly like that, because the animals nowadays in the farms live in fear and in cages and so on. I will not go deep into this. The thing is that when consuming the meat and the flesh, we are receiving these emotions. We are like getting them from the flesh of the suffering animal. And this way, we are not helping our depression, just the other way around. And what I noticed, I'm 25 years already, I'm not eating meat. But I was allowing myself from time to time, like 5 years ago until 5 years ago, to eat fish. And then I would still fear from time to time in melancholic state or bad moods. Or after I completely finished with eating also fish, I'm not entering such state anymore. Mm-hmm. And I know this also from many other people. It is very important what we consume, really, and especially the meat. And also the Master Being Zorina is saying that this way we are like, this is the code of death, and it is a code which we are encoding into our cells, into our bodies. So I'm not saying this to become an advocate of vegetarian fooding, or no, but it's really so that if you want to help yourself and solve melancholic states, stress, depression, one of the means, one which I would put on a second place after the sun, would be don't eat any meat and any fish, because they go through a lot of suffering, either until they're alive or, and you will say, yes, organic. No, the same thing. Organic, the same thing. So, and also the parasites that typically we receive from the meat, doesn't matter how well you cook it, are another reason behind depression. And many times people make detoxifying programs also with depression. And this is what I wanted to ask you, detoxing the body.
Yeah, detoxing the body is important. And one of the things that I can immediately bring up, because I'm not a specialist on any substances, but you told me, and I read recently a lot about black cumin oil.
Black seed oil.
Black seed oil. Yeah. So this is apparently something that over a period of continuous consumption cleanses the parasites as well. And by the way, parasites are considered to be one of the major causes of cancer.
Also, yes. Yes. So yes, black seed oil, Nigella sativa. People can research it online, and this is helping indeed. I never tried it against depression, but I know that it cleans. Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. So yes, what else we can say in terms of? I'm thinking we gave more physiological advices to people. How about uplifting the vibrational status? Yes.
Yes. So one of the things, as you said, is the reduced consumption of meat, and it also goes to the vibrational uplifting. Yesterday I mentioned briefly about Abraham Lincoln. Just a small insert here.
Say it. This was amazing. Say this, please. Yes.
So in his autobiography, which might have been edited, but this part was still in there, he tells a story of how he actually began with his printing business before he went into politics. And as a young boy, he used to read a lot. He would read all night long. And he used to read a lot of ancient texts. So in a lot of these ancient texts, he found that being a vegetarian and eating smaller portions of food and smaller amounts of food throughout the day as well increases your vibration and makes you more creative, makes you access the divine, let's call it the divine, for the lack of a better explanation. So he did that, and he noticed that this had increased his creativity, and it gave him a lot of ideas on how to improve his business and to grow further. Yeah.
Oh yes. This is a wonderful example. You cannot easily get such information because all these positive things related to the elite are hidden. So it's wonderful that you got this one.
I'm even surprised that this was not edited out of the book, but he actually states that.
Yes, this is amazing. Astrologically, the 5th house of joy. Yeah.
Now that we are talking about joy, yes, people should find ways to get entertainment somehow, but not alone, with people. Also sex. Sex is also very important. I know it's difficult for depressed people because sex desire completely drops with people that are in depression. But if you could, use it as or think of it
medicine.
As a medicine your condition, maybe it will help. Sex is a magical tool. We'll talk about it
Yes, we'll make another video about the people's sexuality in astrology and also as remedies. Very interesting.
So other things that you can do spiritually, of course, meditation, yoga, prayer. You promote prayer a lot as a remedy.
Yes, I do. This is, there is this saying, I think I said it somewhere in another video, but this is something amazing. Again, the master being Sadhguru, you know what he's saying? He said, if someone, like, I don't remember to quote it exactly, but it was like that he said, if a person goes to a fortune teller and he would predict a very devastating event, but the event wouldn't take place, this is because the person prayed a lot and God changed his mind. Isn't this wonderful?
It's amazing.
Yes. And prayer, meditation, like you said, yoga, not eating meat. When you uplift your spiritual level, it's like these are indeed levels, vibrational levels. And when you uplift yourself, like all these tense vibrations of the entities which are causing these vibrations, the low spiritual realm, you're just above them, and there is no place for depression anymore. Simply.
Yeah. Another thing when you said uplift and you made this movement is a thought immediately flew into my mind, which is not to think so much of the cause of our depression, of the reason why.
Very true.
But to think how we can overcome it. What is our goal? So that's why the purpose and the goal is so important, because you need to go over the reason. Once you think only about the reason and focus, you're stuck there. You need to jump over it.
And knowledge. Yeah, continue. Excuse me. I'm impatient. Continue.
And another thing that I use as spiritual work as well is astrology, because I consider it, as a matter of fact, very close to it is a spiritual practice. I consider it close to prayer as well, because you self-reflect in astrology and you realize that something bigger above you, that some things are being moved outside of your control, and you should just sometimes let yourself go, not try and be in control of everything. People that are in depression want to be always in control. It's again the Saturnian thing, hold on, I'm in control, I'm keeping the status quo, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
So astrology helps you see the bigger picture, helps you analyze yourself. Of course, you shouldn't go too deep into it without taking responsibility. You shouldn't give your responsibility just by saying, oh, it's my chart, it's meant to be this way, because this is not how life works.
No, of course. Well, since you said astrology, exactly, when you know what is the reason behind the problem, you search for the means. It's now when we know that most of the times, not always, Saturn is the reason behind, then we get to know Saturn, and we know how to solve the Saturn influences and to please him, if you want.
Yes.
So yes, this is one of the things. And the other thing is that Saturn is about discipline and structure. Structure in your day. And typically people who go into melancholic states have badly placed Saturn, not only afflicting their luminaries, but Saturn can be badly placed. And this also can be reason. And the badly placed Saturn is lack of discipline, often. Lack of structure.
Yeah, sorry if I interrupted you a little bit, but so what can we do daily to improve this Saturn? The daily routine. Lots of people that are in depression don't take care of their appearance. So this is the first thing. Start your day being clean, with your hair combed and brushed, and and looking good, because looking good is also showing respect to other people. It's not only about you. It's actually showing respect to other people. So this is putting structure in your day with the wake up, with you're taking care of your appearance, with taking care of the order in your house. You can't have a complete mess, and because once you start ordering, you also order your mind.
Absolutely.
The outside is a reflection of your inner thinking. You're ordering your thoughts by ordering your house.
Yes, structure. Saturn is structure.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Zori, thank you so much for this advice. Let's summarize, just to make it useful for the people, to summarize the remedies that we proposed.
So, as we said, we should look at it in three major groups: body, mind, and soul. And as any condition, you should treat all three, or first start from the body and work yourself upwards with the finer vibrations. First work with the body, then the mind, and then the soul, or spiritual work. So what are some of the major remedies? I'm not going to mention them all, but really list the major ones. Number one remedy is the sun. Go out in the sun at least 1 hour a day. Then eating fresh fruit and vegetables, eating foods that are rich in components. You have to research what kind of components exactly that stimulate the serotonin. Including chickpeas and bananas. I mean, chickpeas are considered the food of the happy, or the food that makes you happy. And bananas,
I love it.
well,
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Then, of course, we have movement, something that makes you more flexible and moves this Saturn away of its static state. So anything like yoga, flexibility of the body and of the mind. Herbs, like yellow herbs, like hibiscus.
Just to say, hibiscus can be very red, Zori, because the tea from hibiscus, is very red. It's still solar. Just to say it so that people know, that we don't mislead them. Hibiscus can be yellow, but can be also very red.
Okay.
It's still solar because the red color is also solar.
Yeah. What we forgot to actually mention is color therapy and aromatherapy. These are also that you can use to improve your depression. So especially if your depression is caused by stress, then lavender is a good solution. But in general, any herb that is yellow or red or green or pink, then whatever aroma comes out of it, you can use to treat your depression as well. Then let's quickly move on to the mind part. I'll quickly summarize this. This is to have your day planned out. This is to break your big tasks into smaller tasks so that you don't give yourself stress. Very important then, the number one point on the mind work is to have a purpose. So to stop focusing on your own problem, but to start focusing on the problem outside of yourselves and how you can use your own unique skills and abilities to help other people, to help the planet, to live with a bigger purpose. And I can help you with finding your bigger purpose. On healandlearn.com, there are also other experts that can help you with that.
Yes, healandlearn.com. I will post the website under this video.
Thank you, Krasi. And then finally, spiritual work like meditation, like prayer, and astrology, as we just concluded. So these are the major factors that can help with the major remedy.
Astrology, because knowing your chart, when you know what is behind the condition, you already have the remedies.
Exactly. Yes.
When you put the right diagnosis, yes. When you know that, when you have the correct diagnose, then you heal. With the wrong diagnosis, you can't heal, indeed. And this can be seen in the chart, yes.
And another side note, just as a responsibility of yours to the other people, is to stop the cycle of depression and bad mood by you not sharing it all the time with your friends and transmitting this bad mood to them. Find somebody to confide in that is professional and that is trained to help you, but don't necessarily bring your depression out to all of your friends and spoil their mood, because you'll also spoil your relationship with them.
Hey, Zori, you forgot something which you told me yesterday, and this is about hygiene of communication and contacts.
Yeah, this is the point of hygiene of communication.
Oh, okay, all right. Just be careful who you communicate with. Also, if you are happy and joyful, stay away from very depressed people, because it's contagious as well, right?
Well, it's more likely that you actually contagion them with your happiness. But
wonderful. If you can help is wonderful.
Yeah, but sometimes when the disparity of the moods is too big, when someone is too happy and the other one is too depressed, this usually ends up in a fight, because they cannot equalize the level of the mood. So the depressed people start hating the happy people around them.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
if you're depressed, make sure that you don't bring all your baggage to your friends and family, but seek the help of a professional person.
Okay, this is wonderful. So thank you so much, Zori. We can conclude with this and see you next time soon.
Yeah, thank you, Krasi.